When the world's population experiences a dangerous decline, it's up to a group of naive men and women to prevent humanity's extinction. After weeks of a steady decline in birth rates and increasing amounts of deaths amongst the youth, Heritage Company CEO Konstantin holds a conference, admitting that their scientists haven't successfully found a cure to this event. As a backup, they've instead designed a program to prevent their extinction. Not long after, the Heritage scientists, Jenna, Piotr, and Polina, attend the birthday celebration for Elizaveta and Alexander's daughter, Anya. While the parents prepare dessert in the kitchen, Elizaveta shares her worry about how Piotr will react to their program. She stresses that they need him for it to work, but Alexander reminds her that they have no choice but to proceed. Soon, everyone sings a song for Anya only for her to cough up blood. They immediately call an ambulance for her while other families also report their children getting sick. Eventually, Anya wakes up in her bunker while her parents keep her company through the other side of a two-way window. Noticing her mother worried, Anya assures her that she'll go home after her 98 days in quarantine. After her parents' visit, the glass then serves as her TV screen, allowing Anya to watch family videos and educational programs. While she rests, however, the ground suddenly shakes, and Anya can't do anything but cover herself as her bunker gets destroyed. Once the earthquake stops, Anya checks if her parents have returned to the other room to check on her. Instead, a hooded man named Maxim takes her out of the bunker. Anya calls out to her parents, but Maxim insists that there's no one else in the bunker. Anya stresses that her parents and the scientists wouldn't have left her, so the man reveals that all the scientists are in the central bunker, which is his destination. With that, Anya joins Maxim. During their journey, he reveals the scientists were meant to release her after a few days, but the earthquake damaged her bunker, so she was released too early. The two travel for days, allowing Anya to learn how to survive in the woods with Maxim's help. She also shares with him how, after she got sick, she woke up already in the bunker instead of the hospital. They eventually pass by a bunker similar to Anya's. She checks it out while Maxim notices fresh footprints, indicating that someone's nearby. After Anya confirms that no one's inside, they follow the footprints until they find Artyom, who's been stuck in the woods for days. Anya assures him that Maxim knows the way to the central bunker, so she invites him to join them. The trio soon reach a river, and Maxim orders the others to cross the bridge while he catches fish. As he does, however, he slips into the river and knocks his head on a stone. Unaware of his fate, the other two hear movement in the woods, alerting them that someone is following them. They rush away as a hooded man runs after them, only to end up at a packed campsite. While the two get captured, Maxim soon wakes up at a riverbed and stumbles into a shed occupied by two corpses. He discovers camping gear among the remains, so he takes them before trying to get back to his companions. However, he ends up losing consciousness from his wounds just as the hooded man approaches. The hooded man turns out to be Piotr, who recalls how the Heritage program came to be. Alexander and Elizaveta headed the program as bioengineers while Piotr's genetics research became integral. The plan was to put the scientists in a cryogenic sleep to wait out the virus that was affecting their birth rate. Once things were clear, they'd be awakened to restart the population using frozen embryos. In the present, Anya and Artyom are taken to the main base. Instead of the scientists, however, it's not run by the first generation who were produced through the program. Anya asks their leader, Lydia, to take her to her parents, but the woman reveals that it's been 100 years since the Heritage program was launched. The scientists told them that the first generation was humanity's hope, but they've decided that they don't need the people from the past, thus they've taken control. Assuming that they're from the third generation, Anya and Artyom are taken to the tent where the children of the second generation are kept. Despite knowing that it's been 100 years since she got sick, Anya insists on finding her parents. She asks the second generation about them the next day, though they laugh at her as parents are not around anymore. Just then, Artyom gets cornered and accused of stealing food last night. As punishment, he is ordered to wash everyone's dishes. Artyom refuses, so he ends up getting beaten. During this, Lydia and her team discuss Anya and Artyom's presence. Andrei worries that more third-generation children will be around and they can't shelter and feed them along with the seconds. He suggests expanding their territory. However, David reports that Piotr was spotted near the river yesterday. Alarmed, Lydia commands her team to secure their base and find the other children before Piotr can take them. Meanwhile, Piotr tells Maxim about the first generation generation rebelling and killing the other scientist. He was the only survivor. Now, the first generation reverted to barbaric means, thus wasting what civilization achieved. His only hope is the few people from the first generation who secretly agree with him and can help fix the program. To do that, he has to return to the central base. With this in mind, Maxim prepares for the task, with Pyotr instructing him to lure Andrei outside and hide with him while he sets up the explosives around the base. Pyotr then notices the bag Maxim got from the cabin, so he searches through it until he finds a map. Because of this, he decides to change plans. Meanwhile, Lydia appoints Artyom under her command to keep watch of him. After he leaves, she recalls her time at the base before they rebelled. During a health checkup, Polina asked about her relationship with Ivan. This caught Lydia by surprise, insisting that they were friends. Polina reminded her that she and her group are humanity's last hope. She hinted that Lydia having a relationship with Ivan was a good first step to their task, promising her that the second step would be more satisfying. Knowing what she meant, Lydia expressed her hesitation about intimacy, but Polina assured her that it wasn't complicated. Later, Lydia and the other firsts had physical training under Captain Ryabov's watch. During lunch break, David complained to his friends about how he should be able to choose the woman he wanted to be with, instead of having the scientists choose for him. Lydia reminded him that this was the way to save their population. Just then, Ivan joined them, and despite what she said earlier, Lydia used this chance to attract his attention. Jenna then approached David, announcing that it was his turn to provide seed for them. This prompted teasing amongst his peers, mostly from Nick, so Jenna chose to give him samples as well. Later, the psychologist Mikhail interviewed Ivan, who noted that Ryabov divided them into two teams for an exercise. He thought it was pointless since they were the only ones left in the world and wouldn't be fighting each other. Mikhail suggested that there could be a competition between them, but Ivan insisted that they had their own tasks and knew what they needed to do. Still, Mikhail hinted that there had to be someone to guide them eventually. On another day, Ryabov presented a rabbit in a cage to the firsts, which Luka commented was cute. This disappointed their trainer, who asserted that it should be considered as nothing but dinner. With that, he ordered Luka to kill the creature. The man hesitated, noting that they had other food. Ryabov insisted that they would run out of food eventually, and when that happened, they'd have to kill the rabbit anyway. When Luka still refused, Ryabov called him a coward and called for a volunteer. With that, Nick stepped up and slammed the animal on the floor while Luka cried. Ryabov complimented the man, asserting that Nick had better chances of survival than the rest of them. Because of this, Luka approached Mikhail and shared how Ryabov treated them like soldiers even though they had no enemies. He also highlighted how the captain treated him worse than the others, even though all of them were raised the same way. He wondered if the scientists knew why he wasn't as strong as the others. With this in mind, Mikhail later confronted the scientists about how the first shouldn't be living in fear. Jenna didn't think much of this, but Mikhail argued that this could affect how the firsts would carry out their legacy and raise the next generations. However, Pyotr asserted that they need to also handle both the second and third generation to maintain order. This meant that they needed the firsts to be strong. In the present, Pyotr tells Maxim that the map belonged to their base's engineers, who monitored the seismic activity to ensure that the bunkers would hold. They left the base to set up equipment around the area but never returned. After the rebellion, Pyotr found some of the equipment and managed to get data from them. He believes that a bigger earthquake will destroy the nearby mountain and bury them under it. This will also prevent the remaining third generation from leaving their bunkers, and thus they will also perish. Based on the map, Pyotr realizes that they plan to blow up a portion of the mountain to release tension from the rocks. This gives him an idea on how to save the younger generations. Lydia and her team are also aware of the constant tremors, which Nos believes are the reason why most animals have disappeared. Lydia worries that the earthquake will also destroy their crops, and with no animals to hunt and the third generation incoming, they need to stock up on supplies. Later, Nick corners Ella from the second generation, attempting to use her. Fortunately, Andrei arrives to defend the woman. He then takes her to his shed to treat her wound. As if to thank him, Ella kisses her savior. This leads to the two becoming intimate, which Nos sees. The next day, Ella employs Sergei to mix something when picking berries for Lydia. Sonia catches them talking, so the two quickly move away to avoid suspicion. Later, Sergei and the others pick berries outside the base, though he discreetly slips the fruits that Ella gave him into his basket. Soon, Nick and Nos inspect the berries, but the latter discovers the blackberries mixed into Sergei's basket. He knows these are poisonous, so Nick punches Sergei. Meanwhile, Ella drops drops her bag of poisonous berries behind her so she doesn't get caught. Anya notices this, so she steps on the bag to hide it further. With her plan a failure and her ally imprisoned, Ella later cries by the river. Andre finds her, assuring her that he'll help Sergei escape. Late that evening, Nick and Nos interrogate Sergei, but the man insists that he just mistook the berries as the good ones. He stresses that no one ordered him to pick the berries, but Nos points out that he never asked him if anyone commanded him. Given Sergei's statements, he believes that he had an ally. The next morning, Nos watches over the preparation for Sergei's execution when he recalls his session with Mikhail. The man taught him how ant colonies work because each ant had a role that they fulfilled. With their coordination, they could even beat stronger insects. With this in mind, the group holds Sergei's execution. Andre stands as the executioner, forcing him to walk on a plank above a deep well. Lydia then reminds everyone how their prisoner attempted her life and could have killed them all. As a show of mercy, Lydia gives Sergei one last chance to name his accomplice. Sonia begs for him to speak, but he chooses not to. Because of this, he's pushed into the well to fall to his death. During all these, Maxim crosses a bridge to his destination, recalling his time in the base. He attended a session with Mikhail, sharing how he kept dreaming of a woman. Polina and Pyotr later watched his session, curious about his visions which his medication should be suppressing. Pyotr suspected that he either avoided drinking them or it wasn't enough. Polina argued that they couldn't increase the dose, but Pyotr asserted that allowing his dreams might lead them to losing Maxim. With that, he ordered her to increase the dose of his suppressors. On another day, Maxim found Lydia repairing a music player which allowed her to introduce him to music. Just then, Polina arrived to collect Lydia, cutting their moment short. Elsewhere, Nick counted Luca's progress but told Ryabov that he only managed to do 21 dips, even though the man insisted that he did 25. The others agreed with Luca, with Andre even questioning why Nick was messing with him. This started a fight until the others pulled Andre off. Ryabov seemed pleased with the commotion, though he declared that it was up to him to decide their progress. Later, Maxim provided a blood sample, and while the doctor, Nina, was looking away, he pocketed her badge. The doctor then gave him his medicine, which Maxim took without question. The moment was dismissed. However, he spat it out, refusing to let it suppress his emotions. That night, Maxim used Nina's badge to leave the quarters and map out the base. Meanwhile, Ivan woke up to one of his bunkmates, Igor, getting sick. Once the man calmed down, Ivan cleaned up and caught Maxim in the hallway. Suddenly, they heard someone approaching. Knowing that it was Ryabov, Maxim panicked and asked Ivan to cover for him. He then hid in the nearby control room while Ryabov found Ivan alone in the hallway. Ivan just showed him the mess he was cleaning up, though the captain found his dismissive behavior rude. With that, he warned the man that his time would be up soon. Meanwhile, Maxim checked the computer inside the control room and input Nina's password, which he'd seen earlier. This gave him access to their records, revealing that many of the first generation are to be disposed of due to them being infertile. In the morning, Jenna and Polina reported to Pyotr that all the first generation offspring were infertile. As protocol, they'd have to restart the program, but Pyotr reminded them that they were dealing with humans. He insisted on just fixing the problem with the second and third generation without disposing of the others. Later, Maxim thanked Ivan for covering for him last night. He admitted that he was trying to figure out what was really happening to them and why they weren't allowed outside. Before he could say more, Lydia arrived, so Maxim left. Suspicious, she asked Ivan what happened, but the man just admitted that he caught Maxim taking a walk last night and he covered for him. Lydia proceeded to flirt with Ivan, but the man got nervous and left. Still, Lydia followed him to another room where the two finally enjoyed some private time. After their deed, Lydia assured him that this was what they were meant to do to ensure their future. He found it strange that their world relied on this act and admitted that he didn't trust what the scientists told him. Lydia pointed out that they were alive because of them, and with that, the two decided to spend more time together. Later, the doctor summoned Igor during dinner for his treatment. However, he started spasming and refused to undergo their procedures anymore. When they insisted, Igor threw them off. Ryabov arrived to control the situation, but Igor fought back, leading to the captain punching him in the face. This left Igor stunned on the floor while everyone looked at the captain. horrified. Late that evening, Maxim infiltrated the control room again and found an unlocked locker. There he found Anya's photo, triggering memories in him. Before he could process this, he noticed one of the cameras showing the scientists doing an autopsy on Igor, who apparently died from Ryabov's attack. However, the doctors covered up for Ryabov, claiming that Igor merely hit his head during the commotion. This worried Pyotr, thinking that the first generation was now getting sick and falling to their deaths. Still, Pyotr berated the captain, asserting that Igor's condition should have been reported to him before it got worse. Maxim soon retreated to his room where he compared Anya's photo to the face he'd been dreaming of, finding that she was the same person. This confused him further, so he snuck into the supply room to gather some camping gear. He then woke up Ivan and Lydia, declaring that he was leaving. He also warned them that Igor was dead and they were likely to be killed next. To give them a fighting chance, he gave them Nina's badge and his notes, urging them to find out the truth. As Lydia and Ivan sifted through his notes, Maxim left the base, bringing Anya's photo with him. In the present, Maxim returns to the base and is welcomed back by his fellow first generation. When Anya calls him, however, Luca pulls her away. Lydia also welcomes Maxim back, though she wonders why he returned. He lies that he was just tired of living in the forest, so the leader thanks him for letting them figure out that they were merely test subjects for the scientist. Ivan died during their riot, but Lydia is still thankful that they've created their own society. Elsewhere, Luca has Anya imprisoned, telling his allies, Andrei and Ella, that she may reveal their secret since she knows Maxim. Anya explains that Maxim rescued her from her bunker and led her there. She also shares that her parents were scientists, so Ella finally concludes that she's the daughter of the bioengineers who spearheaded the project. Given this, Andrei tells Anya to do what they say if she wants to live. She refuses, but Ella vouches for her since Anya helped her hide her berries yesterday. With that, Andrei lets her live. Meanwhile, Nick oversees a few of the seconds scavenging for items. One of them, Piervi, finds a pocket knife and hides it. Back in the base, Lydia shares with Maxim the difficulty of leading when those under her also want her dead. She declares that it's important to know who she can trust, so again, she asks him why he returned. With no choice, Maxim admits that he saw Pyotr. At the end of the day, Anya returns to the tent for the second generation. Now knowing some of the firsts want to rebel against Lydia, she encourages the others to rebel against their mistreatment. She recounts how many workers have rebelled against their oppressors throughout history. When asked how she knows that, Anya recounts her time at school, which the others can't imagine since they were all raised in the bunker before being taken to the base. With that, Anya tells them about Rome's history and how one man encouraged workers to form their own army to fight. Tired of how they're treated, Piervi stands, declaring that they should escape, and thus, the rebellion of the second generation begins.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.